So welcome back, guys. This is Robin. Today we are going to be covering AUTH guards in Angular. A guard is an interface that you can use to prevent access to or navigation to a page based on different factors. So you can check whether someone is an admin, whether someone is registered, to actually determine whether you can allow them to navigate to a certain page. So we're going to be starting with the login page. Won't actually be doing authentication. I'll save that for another video. We're just going to create a page where someone can just create an account and decide whether they're an admin or a normal customer. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe. Let's go. So I've already created the login page. So I created a component called login, and now first thing I need to do is add it to our route. And to call the login, and the component is login component. So now we should have a comma here. So now when I go to login, it's directing me to login. So let's go to the login component and actually design the page. I'm going to go to the HTML. So I'm going to paste some HTML here. And this is just creating I'm going to create a login form. All these classes, I'm getting them from Bulma. If you're just joining us using Bulma CSS framework, if you check out the first tutorial in this series, you'll see how to install it and use it. So we're getting all these classes that are coming here from basically Bulma, and you can pause at any place if you're actually following along. So the only two things that I need to add to sort out this spacing issue, I'm going to add some CSS, just 2 lines of CSS. One to do the import part. Let me delete this so that thing is properly spaced. So it's properly spaced. Let's go back to the HTML. Now here I can create a button, click, and call it submit. Then I can create a function here. It's complaining that there is no function, and now I shouldn't complain. So here I'm going to declare 2 variables. Now actually, how many are those? Those are 4. One is user types. This is an array of the type of users we're going to have. We're going to have an admin and a customer so that they can access different parts of the page of the website. Email, password, and user type. So the next thing, we're going to use ng models to actually capture what is on the page. And to do that, because we've already declared email, we just need to add ng model, and the name here should be email. And for this one, ng model should be password. And save that. Then we need to come in. So it's saying ng model is cannot bind to ng model because it's not a known property. To solve that, just come to app modules and import forms module. Save. I should have probably started it. It's done. Let's see if we're getting an error on the other side. Nothing. So it should be working. Then here we're going to clear another ng model, and the name is user type. Now for the options, We're going to use the ng form. We went through this in one of the previous tutorials, and the items are the user types items, and the value of each is the item dot type, and what we should actually be displaying is item dot type. Let's save that. Let's see if it works. As it's showing admin and customer. Now let's test this. See what you're getting when we submit. Let's console log email. What's this dot email and type? We should have a space here. Type Casper. Type is this dot user type. Let's open our console log and say that's an email, password is anything. Let's select a type as admin. Let's hit submit or create account. So it's actually capturing everything. So our form is working. So the next step is actually creating a login service. So I'm going to go ng generate service. I'm going to create a folder, services. I'm going to call the service out. So Angular has created the service for us. So I can go to services, auth service. We're just going to be storing this user in the local host. We won't be in local storage. We won't actually be authenticating them. The next video I'm going to be doing will be actual authenticating users. This is just a way of showing how AUTH can tell whether someone is an admin or a normal user. So I'm going to copy paste in the first function, which is register user. It's going to take a username and a user type. I'm going to create an object with it, with the username and user type. I'm going to use Angular's local storage to set this item. Remember, local storage uses this key, uses a key and a string object. So we need to stringify this JSON, this object, to make it like a string and store it under the key of user. So let's test that out. Let's go back to login, import the service, call it out service, and here instead of console logging it, I'm going to say this .out .register user. I'm going to pass this I think we used user. No, the email was the username, I think. Yes, so use this email and this user type. Won't be storing the password on the local storage. So let's try it. Let's go back to the website. Let's go to application, local storage. Nothing is stored, so let's use the password. Let's just put any password. We put an email and a password. The first user will be an admin. Let's create account. Nothing has happened. Just a minute. Saying this auth.read user is not a function. Wonder why that's happening. Let's look at the auth service where user is actually a function. Let me refresh this and try again. So let's try another email, t@t.com. Try this as a customer, create account. It's another error. It is actually calling this right user by saying it's not a function. I wonder why. Let me restart Angular. So no error this time, and you can see in the application localhost is actually saved. I saved the user and the database. So the next thing we need to do, so we need to create another function in the auth service, and the first one will check if someone is actually logged in. And we're going to say that user is equals to local storage dot get item user. We're going to check whether there's actually anything stored under the user key in local storage. We're going to say if user return true, else return false. Then again we're going to check if someone is an admin. Let's check if is admin, and first we're going to check if they're actually logged in. So let's say if not logged in, it doesn't matter, because if you're not even logged in, we can't tell whether you're admin or not. Return false. Then let's go continue the logic and say let user. This time we need to pass it so that we can tell what's inside the string. So we're going to turn it into like a JSON object with JSON.pass. Then we need to check if user user type is equals to admin return true, else return false. And you're getting this user.user type. If you check what we are storing, you can see there's a user type. So this time it's admin. So if it's admin, you can return false. If it's not admin, it basically return false. The last function is we can log out, and you can say log out. Just say return local storage dot remove item user. So just removing the user from the local storage. So next we're going to create the guards, and we're going to add these guards to the routes. So to create a guard, I'm going to run ng generate guard. I'm going to create a folder for guards. I'm going to call it, let me just call it customer guard. So the first thing it's going to ask me is to select from these options. I'm going to select just can activate. This allows us to show to determine whether a guard can activate a certain route. So a guard is like an interface that decides whether a route can be navigated to. So if it returns false, you cannot activate that route. If it returns true, you can actually navigate that route. Let me make this a bit bigger so that you can see. This once the minute you create it is actually set to return true. So you can put your logic here under this. This is where you put the logic to determine whether you can actually activate or not activate this route. So we can actually do a check here. Let me delete that and say if this dot out is logged in. So if this is logged in, return true. So actually just continue the navigation. Else, I want to tell the user to go back to the logging screen. You'll see how this works. So I'm going to let me import the router. So I'm going to go this dot router dot navigate. I'm going to pass where I want to tell the user to go back to the login page. So that's how you do it like that. So let's actually use this route so that we see how it works. Let's go to app routing, and I want to put this route under product details so that if a user right now as you're using it, let's go back to our app, let's go to home, let me delete this, we can actually learn more and see more about the product. But I want that any user can actually see this page, but you need to be logged in to view the product details. First I need to delete and actually just log out. Basically what you're doing is trying to log out. I want to delete any information about the user. Now go back to home. Now product details, I need to come and say here add can activate, and now bring the alt guard. Now I called it customer, customer guard, and import it. So we're checking if someone is actually a customer, basically whether they've actually just created an account, and if they have, they can see the product details. If they can't, we are guarding that route. So now refresh this, we'll go learn more. It's redirecting me to log in, and now let me create an account. Go with t@t.com and create an account as a customer. Create account, go back to home. Okay, don't worry about the password, it's just a simple password because we are not actually authenticating anything. And now when I say learn more, it's actually taking me to the product details page. Just because we are passing this, we're actually passing this requirement that we actually logged in. So let's create another guard for admin and call it admin. Yes, can activate, press enter. Now we have admin. I'm going to do the same thing that I did. I'm going to create add a constructor. I'm going to add the out guard, no, the out service. And the router service. And now I'm going to edit this again and say if this dot out no, this shouldn't be like that. That's why it's bringing out error. Dot out dot is admin. We're checking whether someone is admin. Return true. Is admin is checking whether the user type is admin. If it's not, navigate, please log in. It's a very simple way of doing it. And what you're trying to do is to make sure that you need to be admin to see admin page. I know the admin page is still working, so let's create a guard for it. Let's actually add the guard to the route. Let's go to app routing and say here where the path is going to admin. At the end, we need to say can activate admin guard. So let's check whether the admin guard is actually working. Click on admin. It's redirecting us to create an account. Let's actually create an account. y.com. Very simple password. Make sure the person is an admin. Create account. Go back to home. I know it's a simple password. Now when you go to admin, we can actually access admin. So let me just make this up a bit better by coming to a login page. I want it to redirect us back to home. I need to import here router. Here we're going to say this dot router dot navigate. So once you've created an account, you need to be navigated back to the home page. And now let's just create an account again. Let's go to login and say b@b.com. Password, any password you want. This time we create a customer. Never, please don't show me this again. So we're being redirected back to home. I want to create a logout button here so we can actually delete what we've just created. So to do that, first I'm going to move everything. Let me just create a new component. And call it top menu. And now I'm going to come here. I'm going to come to the HTML app this. And that has a top menu just before the router outlet. I'm going to copy all of this, actually cut it so we don't have a top menu anymore, as you can see, and move it to the top menu component. So I'm going to go to top menu, HTML, paste that back, actually call it from the app component of HTML. So it's going to be app top menu. Let's see if it's back. So the menu is back. I'm going to make a few changes to it. First, I'm going to import the AUTH service. Then I'm going to create a logout function. And this will say this.auth.logout. This again is going to navigate us back to home. Let's import a router. Let's import a router. And after we log out, we're going to say this.router.navigate. Get us back to home. So in the HTML, I'm going to change some things here, and the first one is sign up or login. This is actually going to be a router link to take us to the login page. Then it's going to check one thing. We're going to check whether if someone is already logged in, we don't want to show the sign up page, right? So to do that, I'm going to say show this only if, and to do that you say ng if, to put a star, if, and say is not auth dot is logged in. So if someone is not logged in, let me just confirm whether that's how I saved the function. Remember, this function returns a boolean, so only show if false, basically, if someone is not logged in. It's a function, then it's going to bring an error. This is set as private. We need to set it as public. Okay. Then we need now go to the login. No, this I'm going to change it into logout, and what it does is now ng click, and that's a function we've just created. I think I call it logout. I'm going to call this function. And again, we're going to give it some logic. And bring it at the front, and it's opposite of the other one. So this is going to show if someone is actually logged in. So auth dot is logged in. Now let's look at so because someone is already logged in, inspect element, application, there's someone already logged in, showing the login button. So when you log out, it's turned into sign up. When you click on sign up, it's taking you to the login page. So that brings to the end our auth guard or Angular guards tutorial. Please like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.